Hey everyone, this is Will. I'm gonna be doing my little bit of a chalk talk for the topic of invertebrates. I'm gonna be talking to you about the 6 or 7 main groups of invertebrates, and I'm gonna explain to you in more detail what exactly an invertebrate is. Okay, looking at this first box right here, I'm gonna explain what an invertebrate is. So the key, uh, the key factor in being an invertebrate or a vertebrate, is a spine or a backbone. You can find spines in any animal that can pretty much has support. This fish, for example, would have a backbone. Other examples would be a person, were vertebrates. Also tigers and elephants and frogs. But what we're talking about today are the animals that don't have backbones. Those are the invertebrates. That would be something that has outer covering, a protective outer body called an exoskeleton. Sometimes they have shells. Like this guy right here would be an invertebrate because he's got a shell instead of a spine and an inner structure of support. So now that you know what that is, I'm going to go into the first main group of invertebrates. Okay, so over here, you're probably wondering what the heck these are, so I'm going to explain. So this is the worm family of invertebrates. So within this is the flatworm here with the cross-side face. Next to him is the roundworms, and then after that is the segmented worms. Now it goes from left to right, from most primitive to most advanced. Flatworms have a gastrovascular cavity that helps digest their food, which is the most primitive way to be eating and digesting that. The next one, which is the roundworms, these guys have a complete digestive system, so it's more advanced, they're more evolved than the flatworm. Then next after that is the segmented worms. They have a complete digestive tract with an esophagus and intestines, and they also have a hydroskeleton, so they are much more advanced than both of these two. Flatworms are from the phylum Platyhelminthes. Roundworms are from Nematoda, and segmented worms are from Annelida. And so flatworms mostly live in fresh and salt water, and sometimes in people. Now roundworms are the main parasitic form of worm. These are the ones that are usually requiring hosts. And segmented worms mostly live in freshwater and on land. Let's see here. That's a quick overview of the worms. I'm going to be moving on to the next group of invertebrates. These guys are pretty bizarre. They have no bilateral symmetry. Let me introduce you to the sponge. Sponges are very random. Sponges were very early on thought to be plants. These guys will take water in through their incurrent pores, and this is how they eat. They will take the water in through their incurrent pores, they will filter it through their body, and then it comes back out the big hole in the top. They have no real structural support, which makes sense because they're invertebrates. They don't have a backbone. So they have these things called spicules that support them. Really small on the inside. They're very microscopic, so you can't really see them. These guys, do not just let this water flow through them. It is circulated by them. They control it. They use they're called flagella to sort of fan it into the body and then back out. These guys will reproduce using larvae. It will mature inside of the sponge, and eventually it will be ejected, and then it will kind of float / swim to wherever it lands, and then it will start growing. So that is a quick overview of the sponge. Got a couple more to get to here. So next I'm going to be going to the cnidarians. Okay, so there are two main body forms for cnidarians. These would include the medusa and the polyp. So these guys have a very distinct, very unique way of collecting prey and food to keep their energy up. They both use a type of cell called the nematocyst to stun, or sometimes, depending on the toxicity of it, kill their prey. Once that has happened, they will sort of they will direct it into their mouth, and it'll go into their gastrovascular cavity, and it will be digested into energy. Types of food that these animals will consume are fish, nutrients, particles, and other types of particles in the water, and algae. So for methods of reproduction, these guys have asexual budding or sexual gametes formation. They mostly, I don't think there's any that really don't. They pretty much all live in salt water. And some examples of these would be this guy right here, a jellyfish, that would be medusa form, and polyp, there's pretty much no other name for polyp, it's just a polyp. But these guys together can form coral, which becomes coral reefs. Next up is our mollusks. So, what are the characteristics of a mollusk? Let me tell you. Every mollusk has a head, visceral mask, and a foot, quote unquote. The head contains the sense organs and the brain. So that would be right here on the snail. It would be inside the shell for the bivalve, and it would be right here for the octopus or the gastropod. So this is a pretty big group of animals. They're separated into 3 different groups. It's the gastropods, the bivalves, and the gastropods. All of these animals have their feet. So for the snail, it's this part down here that helps him move along. It's muscular contraction and everything. And then for this guy, it's obviously his tentacles. And then these guys, they just kind of they don't really have anything that extends outward, really. They just kind of open and close and use movement to kind of propel themselves through the water. They're different because they vary in design. So one of them may have tentacles or suction cups, while the gastropods may have mucus beds and muscular bellies. And then you have the bivalves, which have their big shells and can make pearls. So, yeah, that's pretty much the mollusks. Next one up are the arthropods. Arthropods are probably the largest group of invertebrates that there are. Including these would be insects like a ladybug, arachnids like a spider, millipedes and centipedes, which is represented by this one guy here, which millipedes and centipedes are millipedes and centipedes. And then you got your crustaceans like a crab. Whoops, hold up. Get back up there. Okay. So I'm going to talk about these guys. So general characteristics of the crustaceans. They all have an outer skeleton, which is like an exoskeleton, very similar. It would be like this guy here. He has the armored exoskeleton body outside. Same with the spider and the centipede. And especially with the crustaceans, commonly these guys are so protected, it's referred to as armor. And also, they all have segmented bodies. So, number of body sections vary between the different groups. So, for crustaceans, they usually have 2 to 3 body sections. And for arachnids, they usually have 2 body sections. Again, with these guys, they have 2 body sections as well. And with the insects, they usually have 3. So, other than that, other things that sets them apart is that arachnids have at least 4 pairs of legs. Insects have 3 pairs of legs. These guys have many pairs of legs, and these guys usually have 5 or more pairs of legs. So also they all share jointed appendages. So what this means is that their body parts are pretty much just what it sounds like. They're jointed. So they have the mobility and the flexibility to move around, and they are loosely sometimes connected, and they have multiple types of joints. And the diversity of these guys are enormous. Scientists have identified more than 1 million species of arthropods. So they're pretty incredible, they're extremely diverse, and extremely large in numbers. Final group here, moving on, it is the echinoderms. These guys are kind of on their own. They're pretty bizarre, usually not really related to the others, not really associated with them. With these guys, they have something that pretty much none of the others do. It is described as a water vascular system. It is fluid-filled tubes in the internal skeleton of the echinoderm. So, usually, an example of how these would be used is with a sea star. Their water vascular system contracts to push water into their little legs, which then crawl around to help them move. Also, body structure of echinoderms. So, another thing that echinoderms have that is different is something in their body structure. Usually echinoderms have their skin stretched over an internal skeleton or endoskeleton, which is made of hardened plates. These plates give the animal a bumpy texture.